Welcome to the Stanford first ever mobility project. Let me ask you a question. Did you ever plan to take a trip to go one place and then you were pulled in an entirely different direction? Something so appealing happens that you want to stay there instead. Well, that's what happened to all of us. I'm Barbara Kranian, and I'd like to introduce my very interesting, exciting, well-aligned and collaborative team, Grace, Anand, Dan, and Cole. Let me invite you into their journey.
We started off with some pretty grand ideas, 50 moonshot concepts that related to car users today and ones 20 years in the future. Some of our favorites had to do with using cars for the good of the public. For example, using shared cars that are always a moment's call away to store emergency supplies like EpiPens, defibrillators, or first aid kits. Alternately, we were intrigued by the time that car space goes unused at night, and were dreaming about concepts that could use cars as shelters for the homeless. Next, we did ethnographic interviews with friends and at Ford, and were keyed into the unique desires and emotions, joys and anxieties that drive people's journeys. Whether it's to meet new people, to not arrive to your destination sweaty, to save the environment, and these emotions and anxieties are what led us to our first prototype.
We began to think about the different types of journeys that different travelers have and the motivations behind each of these journey types, and therefore how can we connect the motivators behind these journeys with the actual routes and spaces that these riders choose to have. We are first going off on this assumption that the future is not going to be in individual car ownership, but rather in shared ride spaces or multimodal journeys. And so when you consider these journey types, you have to consider the motivators that people have before riding and the sacrifices that they're making in current mobility solutions. We built the beginnings of an app that considers the different weighted preferences associated with a journey before the actual beginning and end point. And so you have things like money, privacy, comfort, and eco-friendliness, different factors that people have going into a ride, and this may be associated with a road trip or commuting to work. These different factors are actually what should be going into the type of a route that you're given. These weighted preferences can also be seen as knobs on the front end. And so when you have your journey from, let's say, Stanford to the Ferry Building, how do you change the knobs of cost, unusualness, and comfort when you go on different types of journeys? And then we can put this information into a machine learning algorithm that can learn how different motivations are attached to different types of rides. So how are energy levels, cost, environment, different for a commuting journey versus a road trip journey. And then once we learn this for Ford, we can properly give people the type of spaces that they need for the context of journey that they're taking. While talking to different people at Ford during our Ford Mini experiments, we came across this cool iteration, and we asked someone to draw the inside of their car. And this really gave an emotional and visceral response. And so we think that once this car ownership is gone, what are the different things that people will miss from their car space that we take for granted and that need to be incorporated in future shared spaces?
We have employed mobile surveys to collect information about the context and motivating factors across specific journeys, and what we like to call a journeyer log. Going forward, we see exciting opportunities to employ these methodologies at a much larger scale and on an ongoing basis to collect more granular information about specific journeyers, their contexts, their motivators, and trip data, including timestamped GPS, to get a much richer picture when we put it all together, and allow us to analyze and better understand the key commonalities and differences across specific journeys and journeyer personas.
Another area we're really excited about is how motivators might relate with the spaces that people use to travel. We explored this by using augmented reality and using the idea of different unusual journeyer personas, such as seen here, the minimalist, the adventure, the mom, or the explorer. These different personas all have different needs and spaces that accompany those needs, and we're really excited about the ways that we could more tailor these needs towards each individual unusual journeyer. We're really excited about the ways we could continue with this research moving forward. Using the profiles of the unusual journeyers in car design could help us create modular spaces in cars to better serve these groups. We could also see really exciting uses of augmented reality in car sales or design. And we'd really like to create a standalone app to aid multimodal navigation or potentially even integrate with Ford Pass. We would love to continue working with Ford to further develop these really exciting ideas.